The storm raged across the alien moon like a living beast, tearing through the skies with violet lightning. The crash had left Elias Ward's shuttle in ruins. He stumbled through the glowing jungle, smoke and static clinging to his flight suit. His communicator was dead, his oxygen low, and his heart pounded with the simple, human will to survive. He had read the warnings in every Federation report: never land on Velara Prime. The planet belonged to the Velari, a race known for beauty and death. Their touch could stop a human heart in seconds. But now, stranded and half-conscious, Elias had no choice. He followed faint ruins flickering in the mist ahead, drawn by light and sound that felt like whispers through his mind. The temple stood half-buried in vines and crystal. Pillars carved with elegant alien symbols rose toward the storm, humming softly. The air felt alive, thick with unseen energy. Elias limped inside, his boots echoing through hollow corridors. The temperature dropped as he entered a vast chamber where light danced on a massive throne of glass and bone. He collapsed near it, gasping for breath. Then he heard it. A voice, soft, melodic, and close. Human. Elias froze. The voice came not from his calm, not from the wind, but from inside the room. A faint shimmer appeared near the throne. A figure stepped out from the air itself, her skin faintly glowing silver blue, eyes deep as midnight stars. Her hair flowed like liquid metal, and around her wrists shimmered faint chains of energy. "Who are you?" Elias whispered, instinctively reaching for his weapon. She tilted her head, studying him with strange calm. "You should not be here," she said slowly, each word carrying a strange rhythm. "Your kind cannot survive our touch." Her voice was both warning and temptation. Elias could barely look away. "I crashed. I need help," he said, trembling. The alien woman stepped closer. Her eyes glowed faintly as she extended her hand but stopped inches from his cheek. The air vibrated. "Your body will break if I touch you," she murmured. "No human survives." Elias swallowed hard. "Then don't touch me. Just tell me where I can find shelter." She stared for a long moment, then smiled faintly as if at some private thought. "Shelter?" she whispered. "You already stand in my prison." Elias glanced at the chains around her wrists, light forged from pure energy. "You're trapped here," he said. Her expression darkened. "They called me Princess Lysera once. Now I'm only a memory chained by my own blood." Her words sent a chill through him. The storm outside screamed, and a crash of thunder made the temple tremble. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lysera looked up, then back at him. "You should go. The Velari guards will come when they sense your warmth. They will not show mercy." He tried to stand, but pain shot through his leg, a deep wound leaking blood. He collapsed again, clutching it. Lysera's eyes widened. For a moment her calm vanished. Then before he could stop her, she knelt beside him. "Do not," Elias gasped. "You'll kill me." Her fingers hovered over his wound, trembling. "Maybe," she whispered. "Or maybe something different." Light bloomed from her hands, warm and cold at the same time. The pain faded. Elias blinked in disbelief. The bleeding stopped, replaced by faint glowing marks on his skin where her touch had been. He looked at her, expecting death, but he was still breathing. His heart still beat. Lysera's eyes widened. She touched his chest softly, then her own pulse. "Impossible," she whispered. "No human can survive this." Elias breathed hard, staring at the faint glow on his arm. "Guess I just did." The silence stretched between them. The storm outside faded into distant thunder, and in that silence, her voice dropped to a whisper that made the air tremble. "Survive my touch, human," she said, her gaze burning like fire through glass. "And I will show you true pleasure." Elias's heart raced. He did not understand her meaning. Was it threat or promise? The temple lights flickered, casting her form in shadow and light. For the first time, he saw not a creature of danger, but something deeply alone, trapped for centuries. He tried to speak, but before he could, a sudden echo filled the chamber, a distant metallic howl. Lysera's head snapped toward the sound. "They come," she said. "You must stay silent." She moved toward the entrance, the chains clinking softly. Elias followed her gaze. Through the cracked stone doors, he saw faint lights, floating orbs of golden fire gliding through the mist. "Who are they?" he whispered. "My hunters," Lysera answered. "And your executioners." As the light grew brighter, Elias felt his instinct scream to run. But Lysera turned to him, her eyes glowing again. If you wish to live, she said softly, you will obey my every word. Before he could reply, she placed her hand against his chest again. The glow pulsed and the world blurred. The sound of the storm vanished. The temple melted into a sea of light, then silence. When Elias opened his eyes, he was no longer in the same room. The air shimmered with alien light and Lysera stood beside him, watching closely. You survived again, she whispered, her tone unreadable. Maybe you were meant to. Elias looked around, heart still pounding. He had escaped death twice tonight, once from the crash, once from her touch. Yet something deep inside him knew his real danger was only beginning. And somewhere in the darkness beyond, the Velari were already closing in. Elias woke to an eerie stillness. The light had changed, no longer cold blue but soft and gold like dawn. He found himself in a vast underground hall, its walls carved with flowing alien runes. Strange orbs floated through the air, glowing softly like captive stars. He turned and saw Lysera standing at a pool of shimmering water, her reflection bending across its surface. Where are we? He asked quietly. The lower chambers, she replied without looking at him. A place forgotten by my kind. Even their machines do not see this far down. Elias rose to his feet, feeling an unfamiliar warmth pulsing through his body. Where her hand had touched him, faint patterns of light now moved under his skin like living veins. He pressed his palm over his chest, uneasy. What did you do to me? Lysera turned to him slowly, her expression unreadable.
I healed you, she said.
But I also marked you. My touch does not simply mend, it binds. He took a step back. Binds to what? Her lips curved faintly, though there was sadness in her eyes. To me, human. You and I are connected now. Your heart beats within my field. Your pain feeds my strength. Elias's pulse quickened. So I'm your prisoner? No, she said softly. You are something else. She walked closer, and as she did, he could feel the air changing around her. Warmer, heavier, filled with a rhythm that seemed to echo through his chest. Every step she took drew a response in his body, as though her presence was rewriting his instincts. He tried to look away, but his eyes followed her like gravity. When you touched me, you should have died, she said. That means your body carries something ancient, something my people once knew before we became what we are. And what are you? He asked. Her eyes shimmered like molten silver. We are the Velari. We feel the world through pain and pleasure. It is how we see truth, how we taste memory. But long ago, when we touched humans, our emotions burned out of control. We called your kind forbidden flame. Elias frowned. You talk like you've known humans before. She looked down, her chains glinting. We have. Once long ago, before your species forgot us. He moved closer to the pool, looking at his reflection. The marks on his chest now pulsed faintly with her heartbeat. So what happens to me now? Lysera's gaze softened. Now you will learn why the forbidden must stay hidden. The floor trembled as a distant hum grew louder. Lysera turned sharply. They found us, she whispered. The priest's seekers, they track emotion. Before Elias could respond, she waved her hand and the air rippled. The pool solidified into crystal, reflecting not his face, but a vision of armored Velari soldiers gliding through corridors of light. Their movements were silent, their faces hidden behind emotionless masks. They come to take me back, Lysera said quietly, and you will not survive them. Elias clenched his fists. Then we fight. Lysera looked at him as though she had not heard such words in 1,000 years. Humans, she said with faint wonder, always choosing death over surrender. Maybe we just don't like being hunted. A small smile touched her lips. Then you are truly human. The chamber lights dimmed. Lysera extended her hands and her chains glowed. The energy in them bent and melted into her skin. Elias watched in awe as the bindings dissolved like dust, leaving faint scars that shimmered faintly. She met his gaze. I can move freely now, but it will not last. The moment they sense my freedom, the hunters will unleash their full wrath. Then let's not be here when that happens, Elias said. She nodded once, then stepped close, so close he could feel her warmth radiating like sunlight beneath ice. Hold still. Before he could speak, she pressed her palm to his neck. His vision fractured, light pouring into his eyes. For a heartbeat, he felt everything she felt. Fear, fury, desire, centuries of isolation. It hit him like lightning, leaving his body trembling. When the world reformed, they stood in another place, a high terrace overlooking a sea of molten light. Above them floated colossal spires that pulsed with energy. Elias could see faint shadows moving in the distance. More Velari searching. Lysera leaned on the railing, her breath shallow. My power fades with each jump. I cannot do that again soon. Elias steadied her, surprised by how fragile she felt. You saved me twice now, he said. Why? She turned her gaze to him, and for a moment her mask of calm broke. Because you're not afraid of me, she said. Because you looked at me as if I am still alive. A long silence stretched between them. The glow from the horizon cast soft light on her face, and for the first time, Elias saw the faint trace of a tear shimmering on her cheek. Suddenly, the air trembled again, this time with a high-pitched tone that burned the inside of his skull. Lysera winced. They are tuning to my resonance, she said. They will track me anywhere now. Elias drew his knife instinctively, though it felt useless against an empire. Then tell me what to do. She met his eyes, something fierce returning to her expression. Do as humans do, she said. Defy the impossible. Before he could answer, the sky split open with a beam of golden energy striking the terrace. Lysera grabbed his hand, pulling him close. If you want to live, she whispered, her voice trembling, you must trust the very thing that can kill you. Her hand brushed his cheek. The warmth became unbearable, burning like fire and ice together, but he did not pull away. He looked into her eyes, and the light consumed them both. When the blaze faded, the terrace was empty. Only a trail of silver ash floated through the air, and the hunters circled above, uncertain if their prey still existed. Deep underground, hidden in another forgotten chamber, Elias gasped back to life beside Lysera. Their hands were still joined, and the marks on both their arms now glowed with the same pulse. Her voice was barely a whisper. You are changing, human. Soon even I will not understand what you are becoming. The glow of the alien chamber faded slowly, leaving Elias and Lysera lying side by side on the cold, metallic floor. Their breathing echoed softly in the silence. Elias blinked several times, trying to steady his vision. The last jump had shaken every nerve in his body, but somehow he was still alive. Lysera sat up first. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the low light, strands clinging to her skin. She looked weaker now, her hands trembling as she reached for the nearest wall to steady herself. Elias noticed dark veins pulsing beneath her pale skin, lines of shadow and light that moved with her heartbeat. What's happening to you? He asked. She exhaled slowly. The bond between us grows. Each time I use my power near you, the parasite inside me reacts. Elias frowned, confused. Parasite? Lysera nodded, her voice barely a whisper. Every Velari of royal blood carries a living symbiote inside. It gives us strength, long life, and power over the senses, but it also feeds on us. We call it the veil. She placed her hand over her chest, and the faint blue glow pulsed beneath her skin. It has been part of me since birth. Its hunger is endless. When I touch another being, it drains them, feeds, heals me, and keeps me alive. That is why no human has ever survived my touch. Until you. Elias stared at her, speechless. The thought that something alive lived under her skin made his stomach twist. And me? He said quietly. Why didn't it feed on me? Lysera's eyes flickered toward him, her pupils narrowing. Because your body carries something that rejects it. It does not understand you. It cannot feed on you, it fears you. Fears me? Elias repeated, almost laughing at the absurdity. You're saying your parasite is scared of a human? She looked at him seriously. You are not just a human. Something sleeps inside your kind. A memory older than our empire. Once our worlds were joined. Your ancestors were not prey, they were our equals. Elias's mind reeled. That's impossible. We've never even been to this sector before the Federation survey missions. Lysera's lips curved into a sad smile. History lies. Flesh remembers. She walked toward the far side of the chamber and brushed her fingers across the wall. It came alive with glowing runes, forming a mural of two species, humans and Velari, standing together beneath a twin star. The carvings moved like living memories, showing harmony, war, then silence. This is what they erased, she said softly. The war that broke the stars and buried our truth. My ancestors used the veil to survive the great cold that followed, but it twisted them, turned them into beings that feel only through others' pain. Elias stepped closer, drawn by the strange warmth of the carvings. So this parasite, this veil, It made your people what they are? Lysera nodded slowly. It gave us eternity but stole our hearts. We forgot joy, forgot tenderness. We worship only sensation because it is the only thing that reminds us we are still alive. She turned to him then, her expression fragile and human for the first time. But when I touched you, I felt something I had no name for. Something clean. It was not pleasure. It was not pain. It was warmth. Elias felt his throat tighten. That's called being human. Her gaze lingered on him as if she were studying a rare light. Perhaps, or perhaps your kind never lost what we did. Before Elias could respond, a sharp sound cut through the air, a metallic clang echoing down the corridor. Lysera's head snapped toward the entrance. They are here, she whispered. Elias reached for his sidearm, but Lysera stopped him. Weapons will not help. They do not bleed like you do. Then how do we fight them? Her voice dropped. We do not fight. We run toward truth. The floor beneath them began to vibrate, faint at first, then stronger. From the darkness ahead, light spears pierced through the air, followed by the sound of shifting metal. A group of Velari hunters emerged. Tall, featureless, wrapped in armor that shimmered like liquid glass. Their steps made no sound, their movements perfectly in sync. Lysera raised her hands. Do not harm him, she shouted. He carries the old link. The hunters froze for a moment, scanning Elias with their eyeless masks. Then in unison they lifted their weapons. Streams of white light shot across the room. Elias ducked, pulling Lysera down with him as the blasts scorched the walls. Lysera, what are they doing? He yelled. They mean to separate us, she cried. If they break the bond, the veil will consume me. He grabbed her hand without thinking. The moment their skin touched, the glow beneath both their arms flared brighter. The hunters hesitated, their weapons lowering slightly as if sensing something they did not understand. Elias felt heat surge through his veins, and with it came flashes, images of stars burning, voices screaming, entire worlds falling silent. It was as if memories not his own were clawing into his mind. He gasped, falling to his knees. Lysera clutched his shoulders, her voice distant and echoing. You are remembering, she said. The veil inside me recognizes your blood. It knows you were part of the first alliance. Elias looked up at her, eyes wide. Then this bond, what does it mean? It means, she said softly, we were never meant to be enemies. A low hum filled the chamber again. The hunters backed away slowly, murmuring in their alien tongue. The glow around Elias and Lysera expanded, surrounding them like a pulse of living light. The air thickened with energy, and then, as suddenly as it began, everything went still. The hunters vanished. The walls dimmed. The only sound left was their breathing. Elias collapsed back against the floor, exhausted. Lysera knelt beside him, her hand trembling as she brushed his hair from his face. You saw it too, she whispered. The war, the fall, the lies, he nodded weakly. And now what? Her voice was soft but filled with something new, something dangerous. Now, human, we wake the truth my people buried, and if they try to stop us, they will learn what it means to feel again. The faint glow of the veil pulsed beneath her skin, but this time, it carried not hunger, but hope. The ruins above trembled as the alien night cracked open with light. The Velari hunters had regrouped. Their glowing ships descended through the clouds, cutting across the jungle with blinding precision. Elias and Lysera stood at the mouth of an ancient tunnel, the faint pulse of their shared mark glowing like twin hearts beneath their skin. They will not stop, Lysera said, her tone almost resigned. My people never forgive what they fear. Elias checked the small survival pistol strapped to his thigh. Then we don't give them time to fear. We move. Lysera looked at him with a faint, curious smile. You speak like someone who still believes survival is a choice. It always is, he said, stepping forward. The tunnel led them into a forest that glowed with ghostly bioluminescent vines. The trees pulsed faintly with light as though alive, responding to the rhythm of Lysera's heartbeat. The jungle whispered with distant clicks, Velari scanners sweeping for emotional signatures. Elias crouched behind a stone ridge, peering through the dense mist. How far until we're safe? Lysera tilted her head, listening to the humming of the earth. There is no safety left on this moon. But there is truth. It lies beyond the shattered plains where the first vault sleeps. Elias frowned. That the place you showed me in those visions? She nodded. Where our pasts intertwined, Where your kind and mine once stood together. The sound of wings broke the silence. Sleek hunter drones cutting through the air like blades. Lysera gripped Elias's arm, pulling him down as a beam of white energy scorched past them, melting the ground to glass. Elias felt his instincts take over. "Move!" he shouted, dragging her toward the thick trees. They sprinted through the undergrowth, the air alive with crackling light. Lysera's feet barely touched the ground. Her body moved with inhuman grace, but Elias could see her fading strength. Each step left faint trails of blue mist. "You're slowing down," he said. "I told you," she gasped. "The parasite feeds as I resisted. Every moment near you confuses it. It hungers, yet it cannot feed." "Then hold on," he said, catching her as she stumbled. "I'll carry you if I have to." She looked up, surprised, and for a moment her expression softened. "You would risk death for me?" Elias tightened his grip. "We've been dying since the moment we met. Might as well make it count." A sudden blast shook the trees ahead, throwing them to the ground. Through the smoke emerged the high priest of the Velari, his armor glimmering with liquid gold. His voice carried like thunder. "Lysera, daughter of the throne, you defy your blood again. Surrender the human." Lysera stood trembling but unyielding. "He carries the link. He is proof that our history was stolen." The priest's faceless mask tilted slightly. "A human is not proof. He is a flaw in your creation. You will return or I will end you both." Elias raised his pistol. "You can try." The priest extended his hand and the ground beneath Elias exploded into shards of light. He was thrown back, crashing against a fallen pillar. His weapon slid away. Pain seared through his body. Lysera's eyes flared bright white. "Enough!" The air around her shimmered with violent energy. Her chains of light reformed, not as restraints but as blades twisting around her arms. She lunged forward, striking the priest with a burst of pure force. The impact cracked his armor, but his power barely faltered. "You cannot kill what the veil protects," the priest growled. "Your parasite and mine share the same pulse." Elias forced himself up, his vision spinning. He grabbed a sharp fragment of the shattered pillar and sprinted toward the priest. The alien turned just in time to see Elias drive the jagged edge into the glowing core at his chest. The explosion was immediate. A surge of raw energy tore through the air, throwing both Elias and Lysera backward. The priest fell, his armor dissolving into golden dust. Elias lay on the ground, chest burning, barely breathing. Lysera crawled toward him, clutching her side. "You fool," she whispered. "You could have died." He gave a faint smile. "Guess I'm getting good at surviving your kind." Lysera's hand trembled as she placed it over his heart. The glow beneath his skin pulsed, steadying his breathing. "Your bond grows stronger," she murmured. "Even death hesitates around you." The sky above them cracked again. More ships descending. Dozens of them. Lysera turned toward the horizon, her expression shifting from fear to something fierce. "If they will not let us live," she said, "then they will witness what we were meant to be." She pressed her palms together, and the ground beneath them split open, revealing a spiral staircase descending into darkness. "The vault is below," she said, "but once we go there, there is no return." Elias looked up at the glowing ships in the sky, then back at her. "After everything we've seen, going back doesn't sound like living." They descended together. The deeper they went, the quieter the world became, until all that remained was the sound of their breathing and the faint rhythm of their joined hearts. At the bottom, the air shimmered with ancient energy. The chamber opened wide, filled with floating stones and streams of light. In the center stood a massive crystalline structure shaped like two entwined figures, one human, one Velari. Their hands touched at the center, forming a single glowing core. Lysera stared in silence, her eyes reflecting the monument. "This is where it began," she whispered. "Where your kind and mine became one before fear tore us apart." Elias stepped closer. "Then maybe it's where we end the fear." She looked at him, her voice soft and trembling. "If we awaken the vault, the veil will return to life. It will consume everything unless it finds balance." "Balance," he repeated. Her gaze met his. "Between your humanity and my curse." For a long moment they stood there, the glow of the monument wrapping around them like dawn breaking through eternity. Above them the hunters closed in, but down here something far older was awakening, something neither race was ready to face. Lysera reached for his hand, her fingers warm despite the cold. "If you survive this, human," she whispered, You will never be the same. He smiled faintly. I stopped being the same the night I met you. And as their hands touched the monument, the world itself began to tremble. The vault responded to their touch like a living creature. Light burst from the crystal monument, flooding the chamber in waves of blinding brilliance. Elias and Lysera shielded their eyes as the air vibrated, humming with the sound of thousands of voices long forgotten. The ground trembled beneath them. The carvings on the walls moved, showing a story older than either could fully understand. Elias felt his body grow weightless. His thoughts scattered like dust in a storm. Flashes tore through his mind. Human faces alongside the Velari, working together beneath twin suns, laughing, building, then screaming as fire consumed their worlds. He saw betrayal, the rise of the Veil and the shattering of the Alliance. When the light faded, he was on his knees. His body glowed faintly, his veins pulsing with a soft silver-blue light. Lysera stood before the monument, her expression unreadable, her voice trembling. It has chosen us, she whispered. The vault recognizes the bond. Elias rose shakily. Chosen us for what? She turned toward him. To restore what was broken, or to destroy it forever. Before he could speak, a roar echoed from above. The ceiling cracked open and beams of light shot down. The hunters had found them. Dozens of armored Velari descended through the fracture, their weapons raised, their eyes burning with divine fury. The High Council of the Velari emerged from the light, their armor flowing like liquid glass. At their center floated the eldest among them, her face veiled in shimmering fabric. Lysera, my daughter, she said, her voice echoing like 1,000 whispers. You bring corruption into our sacred vault. Step away from the human. Lysera bowed her head slightly, her voice calm but sharp. You call him corruption, yet he survived what none could. He carries the spark you erased from history. The matriarch's eyes glowed brighter. That spark burned our world once before. Do not let it burn again. Elias clenched his fists. You destroyed everything that made you alive, he said. All to keep control. A murmur spread through the Velari ranks. No one had ever dared speak to the High Mother like that. Lysera's chains of light reappeared, wrapping around her arms. This time not as bonds, but as weapons forged from her will. He speaks truth, she said, raising her head. We were gods once, but gods who forgot how to feel. This human reminded me what it means to live. The matriarch's tone hardened. Then you have doomed yourself. The veil consumes those who defy it. As if responding to her words, Lysera's body convulsed. The marks beneath her skin flared violently, spreading like fire. She screamed, collapsing to her knees. Elias rushed to her side. Her pulse was erratic, her skin hot to the touch. What's happening? He asked, panic rising. The veil, she gasped. It wants to feed. It senses fear, pain. It wants you. Elias gripped her hand tighter. Then it can have me. Lysera's eyes snapped open, filled with terror. No. If it takes you, it will learn your power. It will become unstoppable. The matriarch stepped forward, her voice low and cold. Let it happen. The cycle will continue. That is our nature. Elias looked from Lysera to the glowing monument. No, he said quietly. Not anymore. He pulled Lysera into his arms and pressed his forehead against hers. The marks on his skin began to merge with hers, glowing brighter until the whole chamber shook. If it wants balance, he whispered, then it will get both of us. Lysera's breath caught. You do not understand what you're doing. Maybe not, he said, but I'm done running from what we are. The vault responded again, its core pulsing with unbearable light. The energy from the monument surged into them, wrapping them in spirals of blue and gold. The hunters staggered back, unable to look directly at the brilliance consuming the chamber. Elias screamed as the light burned through him, every nerve alive with pain and pleasure in equal measure. Lysera's voice joined his, two cries merging into one. The parasite inside her writhed, then burst from her chest in a storm of light and shadow. But instead of feeding, it hesitated, trembling before the fusion of their shared energy. Lysera reached toward it, her voice a whisper filled with both sorrow and command. Enough. No more. The veil shuddered, shrinking, folding into itself until it vanished completely, absorbed into their joined forms. Silence followed. When the light finally dimmed, Elias and Lysera lay at the center of the chamber, the air around them calm once again. The hunters watched from a distance, unsure whether to approach. The matriarch stared in disbelief. Lysera stirred first. Her chains were gone. Her body glowed softly. No longer burdened by the parasite's hunger, she looked at Elias, who was breathing slowly, his skin faintly golden. "You survived," she whispered, voice trembling. "Again," he smiled weakly. "Told you I was getting good at it." The matriarch descended slowly, her voice softer now. "What have you done?" Lysera stood, helping Elias to his feet. "We ended the curse. The veil is gone." The elder shook her head.
Impossible.
"Without it, our people cannot live." Elias looked up at the alien queen. "Then maybe it's time you learned how to live again." The matriarch hesitated, her expression unreadable behind the veil. Around her, the hunters lowered their weapons. The silence that followed felt heavy, sacred. Finally, the matriarch spoke again, quieter than before. "Perhaps the era of silence ends here." Lysera turned to Elias. "What happens now?"